Benching, emotional manipulation to keep someone interested. The advent of social media has radically transformed the dynamics of relationships, introducing new criteria to assess the intensity of affections through digital metrics such as Instagram hearts or Facebook likes. In this context, terms like ghosting and benching emerge as manifestations of behaviors that, though widespread, reveal obscene aspects of human interactions. In a society heavily influenced by technology, romantic relationships often begin online, evolving from message exchanges to real-life meetings. The modern love story unfolds this way, but the initial simplicity quickly becomes complicated. Ghosting occurs when a person disappears without explanation, causing confusion and pain for the ignored party. Simultaneously, benching adds a cynical dimension, maintaining contact, albeit without genuine interest, to keep the person as a backup. The term benching derives from the image of a bench in sports, emphasizing the idea of relegating someone to a reserve position. Showing interest without wanting anything serious becomes a common practice, perhaps driven by the presence of other options or fear of commitments. Initial uncertainty may seem intriguing, but for those on the bench, the experience can be devastating. The comparison between ghosting and benching raises questions about human nature and our ability to communicate openly. Selfishness emerges as the driving force behind these practices, with negative consequences on the psyche of those subjected to such behaviors. Walter Risso's quote serves as a warning against sacrificing self-love for the sake of a toxic connection. Understanding benching requires a careful analysis of key behaviors. Prolonged delays in responding to messages, compliments followed by ignorance, and ambiguous responses to crucial questions outline the modus operandi of those who practice benching. These actions indicate disinterest masked as courtship, creating emotional confusion for the victim. The lack of clarity and the inability to address crucial issues characterize benching. The desire to keep the other person in suspense, without concern for feelings or inflicted harm, reveals a lack of empathy and a high regard for one's own well-being. The fear of loneliness drives those who practice benching to always have a plan B, even at the cost of others' suffering. Defense against benching lies in cultivating self-love and establishing clear boundaries in relationships. Awareness of personal limits and open communication are key to avoiding emotional manipulation. If a relationship is based on honesty from the start, the practice of benching can be averted, as the lack of communication becomes the real issue. The phenomenon of benching raises ethical questions about human interactions and emotional responsibility in relationships. Technology, while facilitating connection, has also opened the door to manipulative behaviors that exploit virtual distance to avoid direct confrontation. Online relationships, initially exciting, can become fertile ground for benching, as ambiguity and superficiality can conceal true intentions. The practice of benching highlights the fragility of self-esteem and the need for approval in the victim. Fleeting compliments, combined with selective ignorance, create an unstable ground where the victim becomes dependent on others' approval. Emotional manipulation becomes a subtle tool, fueled by the fear of emotional emptiness and the continuous search for validation. The key element to recognize and protect oneself from benching lies in self-awareness and self-love. Establishing clear boundaries, demanding clarity in relationships, and rejecting ambiguous behavior are crucial steps to preserve emotional integrity. Walter Risso's quote takes on deep meaning in this context, emphasizing the need to prioritize self-love over toxic connections. Contemporary society is called to critically examine these relational dynamics and adopt a mindset that promotes awareness and mutual respect. Emotional education and the promotion of healthy relational standards become imperative in the fight against practices like benching. Only through understanding and collective action can we hope to put an end to this subtle form of emotional manipulation. Benching represents a manifestation of the complexity of relationships in the digital era, highlighting the need for a conscious, respectful, and ethical approach to interpersonal dynamics. Only through the promotion of relationships based on transparency and empathy can we hope to create an environment where benching and similar practices are eradicated, making room for authentic and fulfilling connections. In conclusion, benching emerges as a manipulative emotional tactic in contemporary digital society, reflecting the complexity of human relationships and the importance of open and respectful communication. I bid farewell, thanking you very much for your comments and testimonials. I invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and leave your comments. As you know, I always read them and respond to everyone with pleasure.